But what really unsettled her was the feeling of being watched. She tried to convince herself it was just her imagination, but the air was heavy with an indescribable presence. She decided to get up and walk around the house to calm herself. She walked to the kitchen and turned on the light. Everything was in order, as always. She turned on the tap and drank a glass of water. When she looked up, she saw it for the first time. Reflected in the window, a dark figure stood behind her, motionless. Laura turned sharply, but no one was there. Her heart was pounding, and fear began to take hold of her. She decided to go back to her room, convinced it had been just a play of shadows and her restless mind. However, as she passed the hallway, her eyes met the figure again, this time reflected in the bathroom mirror. It was tall, thin, its face shrouded in shadows. It made no noise, did not move, it just looked at her with empty eyes. Laura backed away, stumbling over the carpet and falling to the floor. When she looked up, the figure was gone. She breathed deeply, trying to calm herself. "It's just my imagination," she repeated to herself. She got up and ran to her room, slamming the door shut. She crawled under the covers, as if that could protect her. She closed her eyes, trying to fall asleep again, but fear kept her awake. She opened her eyes and, to her horror, saw it in the corner of the room. The figure was there, closer than before. Laura screamed, but no sound came out of her mouth. She tried to move, but her body didn't respond. She was paralyzed by terror. The figure began to slowly advance towards her. With each step it took, the air grew heavier, the room darker. Laura wanted to escape, but there was nowhere to go. The figure stopped at the edge of the bed, and Laura could see its eyes shining with indescribable hatred. She felt a pressure on her chest, as if something invisible was crushing her. With one last effort, she managed to move her arm and turned on the bedside lamp. Light flooded the room, and the figure disappeared. Laura panted, her body drenched in sweat. There was no trace of the figure, but the fear was still there, latent. She decided not to turn off the light that night. She stayed awake, watching every corner of the room, hoping the entity wouldn't return. When dawn finally came, Laura felt relieved. The daylight seemed to dispel the terror of the night. But deep in her mind, she knew she wasn't safe. Because the figure was still there, waiting in the shadows, watching, slowly getting closer every time she looked away. And next time, she might not have the chance to turn on the light in time.